Not a loss for words. I'm going to let the guy to my side take it from here. I'll be back.
I got this, Griff. What's up, YouTube world? It's your boy Nightmare 10 once again. And I am glad to be back on the Griff podcast, a.k.a. the YWC Football Talk. I forgot the name of it. That was a butch. But welcome, guys. I'm glad I'm back. I'm so glad to be back. Rocking the Coastal Carolina. My boy Isaiah Likely should be getting the ball more in Baltimore. But yeah, I'm happy to be here, Griff.
Yeah, you know what? We're happy to have Phil back. Obviously, guys, look, we're rocking and rolling week 7 of the NFL season. College football in full swing. CFL football right down the finish line as well. But first, before we get into anything else, look, we could talk Pats. We'll do that in a little bit. But first, we have some news to cover because last week the Jets decided, hey, we're going to fire our head coach. And then after their loss Monday night, which I said on this podcast, I had Buffalo on the spread and win. But they decided to go out and say, hey, we're going to trade for Davante Adams for a 3rd-round pick. And then the Buffalo Bills countered by saying, we're going to go get Amari Cooper from the dysfunctional Cleveland Browns. I want to ask this from you from a fantasy footballer perspective and also just a football perspective. Which one do you think will have the bigger impact sooner than later?
Sooner than later, I think it's Adams. But I think overall, I like Amari Cooper at the Bills. Like the Bills don't have they've had Shakir, who's looked good, but nothing like super productive guy. And I think Amari Cooper is going to be that guy. He's just you can get the ball out to him quick. There's just more options there. I think Adams will score more early because of the connection is so they're used to that. Where Cooper, of course, going to have to get a little chemistry going with Allen. But I think in the end we're going to be like, wow, like Cooper's going to, if you have Cooper on your team, I think you're feeling way better than you did when he was in Cleveland. So I don't have him on any roster, so I actually don't even know how he's done this season as far as fantasy. But
I mean, I got him I think I got him in 1 or 2 leagues. I got it just on the senses of I thought Cleveland was going to be something. Short term, I want to say Adams just because of that chemistry, but long term, because Adams' contract, look, they can fix it, they can do however they want, but all NFL contracts, well, for most of them, for the most part, you can rip them up on a year-to-year basis. We're seeing it right now, Geno Smith, Daniel Jones, etc. And with Davante Adams, his contract's up at the end of the season effectively, unless the Jets want to fork the cash over to pay for him. But the Jets, too, they have to pay Breece Hall. They have to pay Sauce Gardner. They got to pay Garrett Wilson. I almost said Chris Olave for some reasons because the Saints game's on behind me. Yeah, they got to pay those guys, too. So, for as much as you want to please your QB1, you got to look at the long-term future plans for a team like the New York Jets. I still think the Saleh firing, look, it was deserved to happen. I did speak to a Jets fan that you and I both know. And, look, they were happy to see him go, but it was the overreaction to fire him so quickly at 2-3. Now they're 2-4. And they've got a game this Sunday night where I'll say this right now. 2-5 is a death sentence where we have a team looking to go to 2-5, but we kind of know our place. We kind of know our role and we shut our mouths. But for a team like the New York Jets right now, it's just trying to figure out they're in a bit of an identity crisis at the moment where it's like, okay, what are we? You're in a win now window, but you've lost some bad games. Your only wins were against Will Levis and Jacoby Brissett. That does not spark anything of interest for when you look at the larger perspective of the NFL community, especially, too, I like to say signature wins. What's a signature win?
They don't have one. Yeah, I mean, you can't.
Exactly.
This is going to sound, obviously, coming from both of us, it's going to sound like hate. And maybe, of course, there is always a little hate there, right? I mean, well, there ain't no little. There's a lot. But I'm just saying, in this comment, there might be still a little bit. But they haven't beaten anybody yet. Now, they haven't been blown away by the good teams, right?
San Francisco did.
Yeah, Niners. It wasn't like a blow away, but they were pretty obvious they were going to win. But yeah, so that is a good point. But the Bills game was close, which, I mean, it's a divisional game, prime time. We knew that. If they had a kicker, they might win that game. That's one thing. Davante Adams can't kick the ball for you, so I don't. But he is better than Mike Williams. So this is to segue back to that Davante Adams trade. Even as a Patriots fan, I saw that happening. It's the trade, one of the most obvious trades of all time, I would say. And as far as would they keep him beyond this year, I think it depends on how it goes. I mean, if it's if you're not winning, if you end up with a losing record, which I still don't think the Jets end up with a losing record, but I mean, as of right now, you could make that case. So I think, I think it just depends on how they do, but obviously he could, he's going to take a pay cut if he's with Rodgers and he's doing well. Where else is he going to go? That's going to get a better opportunity outside of just money, obviously.
The
But
Brett Favre and follow to Minnesota.
yeah, he just leaves them. Yeah, exactly. So I mean,
so I'm pulling up their schedule just to see who they have coming up because obviously, like we're going to get into it, but they play Pittsburgh this week with Sunday Night Football, Patriots next week, and then 2 weeks from tonight. Tonight's Thursday, October 17th, Halloween night. They're playing the Houston Texans at home, and we saw what the Texans did to the Patriots this past Sunday. Cardinals, Colts, Seahawks, Dolphins, Jags, Rams, Bills, Dolphins. There's a lot of winnable games in there, but there's a lot of games too where it's like you can't let those opportunities go by you. So for the New York Jets, you have to win those games you're supposed to win. This Sunday is a game you're supposed to win. Go into Pittsburgh and win it. When you go play the Indianapolis Colts, that's a game you're supposed to win. Go win it. Arizona Cardinals, Jacksonville Jaguars, LA Rams, etc. Those are games you have to go win. Seattle Seahawks now too. Miami, which I know Big Rat would say different opinions, but that's him. But yeah, it's just there's certain things to do there for the Jets.
Yeah, and I don't think like just going through that. I'm looking at the schedule as well after you just brought that up. I think based on the amount of games they have left, like they have enough winnable games to get to the playoffs, but they'll be one of those teams that got to the playoffs because they played enough bad teams or enough teams that they were better than. Like they're not going to get at Buffalo they just lost the home game. Like I would think they actually were going to split. Then now it looks like they might not. I know that's a later game in the year, so does Buffalo need it? And you can we'll make that case down the line, but like you said, Texans, maybe Seattle if they make the playoffs. Dolphins at that point, I guess Tua will be playing, so we could leave that one up till we find out if Tua is playing or not. But they could be entering the playoffs not beating any of those playoff teams.
Yeah.
So getting the playoffs, I think is not a far fetched even at the record right now. But I think they've definitely underachieved. I mean, granted, they played a Vikings team that's a lot better than we expected before the season, but the Broncos loss was completely, you can't do that, which it does seem like even a lot of playoff teams can still have that. I mean, the Chiefs lost to the Raiders one year and they still went on to win Super Bowl. So it's not like a do or die loss, but at this point in the season, I can criticize it more than maybe, later in the season where I'm like, okay, they've got it back up. But, I think one thing I will say about the Jets, which we're talking way too much about the Jets, but Aaron Rodgers just
in the news.
But Aaron Rodgers has not looked good. He's had moments where he's looked good, I should say, but he's not doing enough, or he's not doing. I don't know if enough's the right word. So
he hasn't been the X factor that they need him to be.
Yeah, he hasn't been the guy that, okay, this is why they got him.
The guy.
He's been better than what they've had, but look what they've had. So, I think his best game to be, and I'll say that I'll give one positive so Danny doesn't come at me. His best game was against New England. He looked like old Aaron Rodgers against us. On Thursday Night Football. I will say, put that star behind it because it is Thursday night. Those games always seem to not go what a normal game would go, but still, he looked good. Like I was like, bro, we made him look like he was prime Aaron Rodgers out there. So
yeah, and like you had
that against, but that's the Jets' problem. They always do that only against New England. That's it's just been the issue. It's like play like that against then the Broncos, they score 9 points. So I mean,
that's why a game like Sunday night, I need to see them, not make those mistakes. I need to see their defense not get caved in. Because that's the other thing about that Patriot game too. That Jets defense was just not letting anything happen. They were like, no, you're not moving the ball. Yeah. You're not throwing the ball. You're just going to do that. You're just going to basically you're going to try to play 60 minutes and you're going to deal with it and you're going to get caved in. And that's what happened. But we'll get more. Jesus Christ, Bo Nix is not good.
Yeah, looking at
but
I guess they were trying to jump him off sides. I thought they were.
No, I don't know what's going on. It's just I'm like watching this, just like, yeah, I didn't believe in him coming out, and I don't believe in him now.
That's another record where it's like the Broncos are 3-3, and now all of a sudden people think they're not as bad as they are. It's like their defense is better than I expected. I will say that, but
excuse me.
But the records right now don't mean nothing to me right now.
Well, it's not even that, but
not nothing. That's not true, but
no, but you can't take every record right now and be like, yeah, this is who this team is. Like, I don't think you can fairly say, okay, who are you kind of have an idea now of, hey, who's probably going to be in the playoffs or who's going to be in that picture. You probably already know, hey, Baltimore, Kansas City, Houston. I'd say those teams are probably locks to get into the playoffs right now. And then even in the NFC, I would say the Minnesotas, the Detroits. You could say any team in the NFC North, to be honest with you. And then even like San Francisco, there are certain teams where you look at. I know San Francisco's had a few rough weeks, but like they looked good last Thursday against Seattle, so I expect them to be back. There's only a handful of teams right now where you're like, yep, they're a shoe in to make the playoffs. And then there's a handful of teams that like we're not going to know about them until American Thanksgiving. So there's about another 6 weeks of football to be played until we get to that point to where, you know, college football's playing all their signature games. When Ohio State plays Michigan, when the Iron Bowl happens. I believe that's around the same time when BYU played Coastal Carolina 4 years ago and got dog walked in on the teal field. But you know, you can correct me if I'm wrong on that one.
No, they got dog walked, not us.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh,
Coastal Carolina dog walked them.
Yeah.
The Mormons went into Coastal, didn't know what to expect, and got fed their lunch. But you're not going to know about, hey, what teams are truly good until you get to that certain point. By that time, you're like, there might be some teams that like, you know, get hot at the right time and make a run to the playoffs. But at the same time, too, there's always those teams that kind of like sneaky. That's why my worry with the Jets is that they win enough of these like close games against like weird opponents to where when you get to the playoffs, hey, you're going to face a high caliber team, and that high caliber team just says to you, hey, you don't belong here. It's like what we've seen the last few years from like the Pittsburgh Steelers. We've seen it from Seattle in recent years. You know, like the teams like, hey, they scratch and claw to get to the playoffs. And ultimately, it doesn't go their way, you know? So that's like the one thing with the league and all these teams right now. I just wanted to bring that up too, because how you say the Denver Broncos at 3-3, when you look at who they've beaten in that 3-3 stretch, their wins have looked good, but their losses have not looked good. And with teams like that, you have to look at those losses as red flags. You can't just be like, oh, hey, they got the win. Sure, they won those games, but at the same time, too, you have to look at the flags that are red for certain teams.
Yeah, I think the stretch for I'm looking at this Broncos schedule as well. The Broncos do kind of have a favorable schedule outside of they go back-to-back weeks playing Baltimore and KC, so GG's on that. But they have Atlanta, they have the Raiders. I mean, the Raiders are, you know, throw them up in the air at this point. The Browns, which are who knows what they'll look like on December 2nd, but at that point. But then
I think that's a Monday nighter, by the way. I think that's a Monday night football game. That Raiders.
It says ESPN, game. So that would. Yeah, I think you're right. Which is. I don't know if they flex those that late. I think they can now, right?
They can. So Monday night. So it's weird.
How much in advance they have to cut them. Well, not cut them, but you know what I meant.
I think Sunday games and Monday games, I think they have 2 or 3 weeks beforehand to flex them. Like, I don't know if you saw this, but for next weekend, the Bears and the Commanders play at 1 o'clock. We're supposed to play at 1 o'clock. That game got moved to 4:25, and Eagles and Bengals got flexed into 1 o'clock.
Oh,
last year it happened to the Patriots last year.
It did happen, yeah.
They're supposed to play Week 15 Monday Night Football against the Chiefs. That game got moved from Monday Night Football to Sunday afternoon, and I believe it was Eagles and Seahawks that got in there. With Thursday Night Football, I doubt they'll ever do it, but there's a 28-day window that they give the teams to get ready, basically, because you just can't be like 2 weeks from now, hey, so yeah, you only get 3 days of rest instead of a full 6. But you know what? There's a lot of flex potential there. There's also Miami and Cleveland towards the end of the year. That's Sunday Night Football, which I look at that as flex. 2 weeks from now, you have the Philadelphia Eagles playing the Jacksonville Jaguars, which that is a deserved get the hell that game flexed. Why? Because they're 1-5, and this week they're in London again because for some reason, look, we all know, and you know this, the Cons love London, where they're taking on the New England Patriots, another 1-5 team. But before we get into the game,
yeah, I have something I saw something today. It pissed me off about that game, but we'll get to that.
Okay, we're talking about the game right now. You know, I want to do the segue. Yeah. I want to do the professional segue. Perfect. So we have Jags, Patriots. But I want to ask you first, going back and forth with everything. What did you? So Sophie and I talked about this on Monday. Sophie Weller and I talked about this on Monday, and she's now boots on ground, folks. Check her out for all the anything Patriots tomorrow. She'll be at practice. Go from there. But Phil, what did you think of Drake? The main event, the Mayflower.
So. Before I say what,
may
the fourth down be with you, which is one of my fantasy names this year.
Mine was going to be May.
Yeah, it's going to be May is another one of mine.
That was my survival team that lasted 3 weeks.
That's the two I've got. One's a dynasty, but no, I think before the season, me and you actually have tweeted back and forth about it. Is that I was like, do not put Drake May out there yet. Like this offensive line needs to get figured out. There's so much that needs to be done first. Like it's okay. Like he's gonna play eventually. I didn't want him to rest or sit the whole entire year. You can't protect him. But as you watch the games, as you see how they unfold, you start seeing stuff. And Brissett was okay the first 2 games. You know, he did enough. Obviously, we won the first one. The second one we were close, lost to Seattle. But it just kind of those like it's almost like a win or in a close game will kind of cover up your faults and stuff or like your weaknesses. And I think it started to show week 3, and then that's it just spiraled. And I just think it. Now, do I think that the Patriots should have stuck more to their guns and not threw him out against the Texans? I would have liked if you're going to start him before you like. There's no way the plan was to start him this week again or last week against the Texans. That wasn't the plan going into the season. I don't think that was the plan.
I think it was always. I'm just going to say this. I think it was always a week by week thing for a lot of it. After week 4, I think it was week by week for a while.
Yeah, I don't really believe that there was I don't believe there was a plan. I think there was a general plan. And I think when people hear plan, they think, okay, this is the day, this is the, and I don't think that's fair to have that kind of plan. Like, and I don't think I at least respect and trust Mayo enough to and the staff and everybody that their plan was fluid. Like, it's okay to have a fluid plan. It just happened to work out where, okay, you just saw it against Miami and it's like, now you're going to go against the Texans. But anyways, as far as that goes, I had my reservations. I didn't want him in, but then if you follow me on Twitter, my narrative started changing. And then in the Miami game, I had enough. I'm like, okay, like we got to have a spark on offense. I don't want to get him killed, but you can't wrap him up in bubble wrap. So, anyways, going into I ranted there for a little, but I want to let you give a little background on what I thought going into the season and as the season progressed. But then the game itself, man, like obviously the first interception was pretty bad. But no one's perfect. He's a rookie, and if you expect him not to throw interceptions, I mean, veterans throw interceptions. So if you expect him as a rookie not to, I mean, Peyton Manning's rookie year was downright awful. So
yeah,
you can't really judge too much, but you judge play by play. And bro, the Pop Douglas play, that literally it's like you took two. I don't even know what you call them. I'm in the health industry, but the little 2 shockers and shocked the hell out of me. And yeah, there you go, defibrillator, and woke me up. That play, I've played that play 100 million times. That was what I wanted to see. I was like, that's the offense. Now and we did it against a defense that could be arguably the best in the league, like one of the best at least. So, and to be honest, considering that, the offensive line I think played pretty good, actually, pretty good in that sense. Obviously, overall, no, but considering who they were playing.
Yeah, and it's been so. Here's the thing with Houston. Houston has one of the best defensive lines in all of football. I said this in the previous shows. Big Rat's gonna love this. I know Randy will love this. The Texans are 3rd by DVOA in the entire NFL right now when it comes to total defensive play. The Jacksonville Jaguars are 32nd in the league. So considering the circumstances too, I always talked about this as well because I've had 3 episodes I've done now since Drake played. Look, the first throw, rookies are going to make mistakes like that. We've seen Bo Nix do it tonight. We've seen Spencer Rattler basically show, hey, why he was a 5th round pick. So I'm not overly worried about that. And the second interception too, that was just Will Anderson tipped it, and I forget who caught it, but it was just one of those
behind him.
You can't. It's just one of those football plays that you're not going to control. Right. I'm not worried about him. We all know what this year is about. This year is about looking ahead to the future. And if you can have a quarterback, you set yourself up for next year to where, hey, we can go get him. If Drake May looks good now, instead of, striking out on DeAndre Hopkins, Calvin Ridley, Brandon Ayuk, maybe you can convince a T. Higgins to come to New England. Maybe you can long shot, but convince Jamar Chase to come to New England. You can bring in one of those caliber players, even a DK Metcalf. And I also say all these names too, and I know everyone's like, oh, why are you saying all these names? Because these players become available all the time. And I'm not trying to say, look, it happens all the time, but there's a lot of these players in the league that, look, situations happen. They're just not happy. They want to move on. They want to go to a new place. And also, too, trades happen. If teams are willing to move forward, they're going to do it. Look what Chicago's doing. Yep. Chicago's team I had my doubts about. They're 4-2 right now. They do have that hard stretch coming up, which will actually, they have the hard stretch coming up after they play New England, where they play all of the NFC North, Seattle, San Francisco. So that's where the Bears are truly going to be tested. Meanwhile, with New England, this year is just about looking forward to the future. Do you have your quarterback? Yes or no? We know the offensive line is going to get better. There's Will Campbell. There's Kelvin Banks. There's other players in the draft. There's a very deep offensive lineman draft, so the Patriots are fine, even if they move back. And I know everyone's saying, go get Travis Hunter. I would love Travis Hunter, but drafting is for positions of need, not for want. When you want a position, you go pay someone in free agency. You can draft someone for want, but at the same because you want someone, but we've seen how much that backfires. Just because, look at that. David Tepper wanted Bryce Young, and look how that's turned out in Carolina. And then Houston just CJ Stroud fell in their lap. Now I'm not saying CJ Stroud was with Carolina. I don't know.
I don't think it goes as well as people think. Yeah.
I still say that where I feel like with Stroud, you see it's not what it is in Houston, but it's definitely better than what Young has been in Carolina, and Young with Texas and the Texans as well. We don't know what it is. It's just those are parallel what if universes, multiverses that exist.
I think it also shows like, okay, this is what it looks like when you're set up to succeed. This is what it looks like when you're set up to fail. I think it's a perfect example of that.
It's like
you could digress the talent, and it is one really more talented than the other.
It's the whole. This is your brain. This is your brain on drugs. It's just that like this is your heart. This is your heart on cigarettes. It's just one of those like, hey, this is what happens when you do this. This is what's happening when you do that. With this game right here, though, now shifting into it because we get to wake up early, 9:30 kick for all Patriots fans, and you get your Sundays back to yourselves. Which, except if you're me, you'll be watching Red Zone all day. I want to say this about this one game right here, and that is, look, for as much as New England has looked bad and as Jacksonville's looked bad, and I know there's the time change stuff, and I know New England's just leaving tonight. That's why Viridian Low has already been ruled out for this game, because New England is taking off tonight to go to London. But I feel like them at +6 after what they just did to the Houston Texans. Look, I know they still lost by 20. A lot of those points are caused by turnovers and egregious officiating. But I can't see a world where the Patriots are a +6 against a team that's equally, if not just as bad as them. I don't know if New England's going to win this game. I sure hope they do, because 2-5 for us is a lot more stomachable than 1-6 coming back to play the Jets, Titans, and Bears. But if you move to 2-5, you give the fans something to celebrate. And also, here's the other thing too: Drake May having a bad performance against a bad team raises red flags. If you're Drake May, this is the kind of game you go out there and win. At the same time, you can say that with Trevor Lawrence, because the New England Patriots defense just not as looked good this year. Tank Bigsby has really been an emerging running back for the Jags. So we'll see ultimately what happens. But in my heart of hearts, I just can't see a world where Drake May has a bad day against the Jacksonville Jaguars and loses this game. So I think New England also wins this game too. 5-game losing streak comes to a halt. And even if they lose to the Jets next week and then fall to 2-6, it is what it is.
Yeah, and I think that's your last point is big too. Is like 5 losses in a row. Like when you have a team like that and they're starting a spark. You saw them play good against the Texans despite losing. I think that's a good sign going in. Now, the one thing I'll say about the Jags is, they didn't leave London. They stayed there. So,
yeah,
that could be something with this team that the Patriots have now. There could be some hiccups early on, but first of all, the spread was what I was going to say. I said I wanted to say about the game. That's insulting. Like that one, I think the Patriots should be favored. I get that the Jags are at home, but at least if the Jags were favored, or at home, but they were
-6.5. Houston was -6.5 last week. So you're telling me that the Houston, what CJ Stroud did is what Trevor Lawrence is going to do after how Trevor Lawrence looked this year, especially in Chicago? No way.
Especially after you saw Chicago come in and destroy him in their so-called home away from home. So that I was pissed off. I'm like, no, that's a terrible spread. And look, you think players don't look at the spread? You don't think coaches see the spread? Like that's going to motivate the Patriots as well. So I will be so down if we lose to the damn Jags. Like this is a team that's far better than the Jags, even though injuries and a lot of holes in the team in general. But
no Mike linebacker, you can say it.
Yeah, no, I mean defense we were losing. Like name them a captain and we lose them. So I mean at one point, if you haven't seen the meme, but it's like there's like one captain that hasn't been that hasn't been on there. But no, it's like and obviously like people see it at 1-5. It's like unless you're a true Patriots fan, you watch every week, like you don't know. But like there's like the fact that the offensive line has gone through everything. Like I think we've done a lot better than we should have done. Oh, someone's getting carted off. I just noticed that. Sorry, got distracted. Hopefully he's okay. Saints player. I can't see who it is, but yeah. So I'm confident in this one. Even if Stevenson doesn't play, I mean, I know no Peppers is a huge lot, but Duggar played last week. I'm probably gonna butcher his name, but Marty Mapu. He's played well last week. I think people are starting to step up. It's just, I mean, God, we just can't keep it's continuity. It's like the offensive line now. This is gonna be the 7th different offensive line because Lowe's out. So
yep.
But I think Drake may just like he's gonna make play like him and Pop. Like Jalen Polk can get going. Butte looked good last week too. I just think there's more upside on our side than the Jags. And one thing I will say about, because you did mention him earlier, Ridley. Like, are you happy? Are you happy you went to Jacksonville instead of New England? Huh?
He went to Tennessee from.
Oh, that's right, from Jacksonville. Sorry, but it made me think of him. Are you happy? Because like they literally interviewed him and he was like miserable. I'm like, are you happy that you chose Will Levis over a potential Drake May?
It was Paulson Adebo, by the way. I don't want to cut you off, but it's Paulson Adebo that was carted off.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I saw Debo the end part, but I didn't want to butcher his name. Yeah, I said it. The Jags made me think of Ridley. I knew he was on the Titans, but thank you for hitting me with that. But yeah, I just wanted to point that out. It's like, I know I'm going to sound like a homer, and I'm okay with that part being a homer, because I'm like, were you happy going with Tennessee? Because the interview, the last one I saw was like,
Yeah, the only thing with me with this game too is just the fact that Jacksonville, it seems like it's such rock bottom for them that, right. And also the fact that they're, like I said, it's more than them. It's me thinking that this could be the game for the Patriots. It's the spread number of everyone. Look, travel might have something to do with that, or it might be a bait trap, but at the same time too, I can't trust Jacksonville to cover a big number until they blow someone out, which even though they beat the Colts this year, they always beat the Colts. So that's just, it is what it is. We'll have to see how this game goes, because like, look, if Jacksonville loses this game, someone's probably getting fired on Monday. But we have the rest of our Sunday, run through all these games. The first one being the Buffalo Bills taking on the Tennessee Titans. I'm going to say this about this game right now. Buffalo is -9. I do not trust the Buffalo Bills as a high spread number. I like Tennessee to cover the spread, maybe lose by a touchdown, but I still like the Buffalo Bills to win this game. I know Buffalo's a good team. I just can't. I have trust issues with them when they're a big favorite.
I get that. I don't have any necessarily disagreements with the spread part. I don't think this is close. I think Buffalo destroys them, but I could see. I mean, games are just 10. I mean, 9 point. I mean, it's easy to get it down to 10. You saw New England Texans, for example. That game was like, way out of reach, and then it got to a point where we could have covered the spread. We didn't, but if it a little less turnovers or whatever. So I'm just saying I could see it ending up being where they don't cover, even though I say they're going to win pretty handily. But
yeah, you know what?
Is Amari Cooper actually going to play? I didn't see.
He did. So I don't know if you saw this or not. He drove from Cleveland to Buffalo. It's about, I think, it's kind of one of those things with what was I going to say? It's one of those things where I believe he's already in Buffalo, so I wouldn't be shocked to see him play. One thing I'll say is, though, I feel like everyone's going to be on him to like have a big game. He may. I would look ahead to maybe next week for that to happen when they play. I'm going to look this up again. With the Buffalo Bills next week, I have to go back to the score app because I was kind of going back and forth between checking football stuff and also checking baseball, which I can say this. The Cleveland Guardians defeated the New York Yankees.
Oh, they came back? Okay, good.
Yeah, the Cleveland Guardians won in extras. The Buffalo Bills play Seattle. Seattle's defense is not the best secondary, so I would look for that game for Amari Cooper to truly have his welcome to Buffalo moment. Look, I think the Bills win. I just think, look, I can see them winning by a touchdown. It could be a blowout, but then at the same time, too, I just would rather take Tennessee against the spread. But Buffalo to win is obviously a very easy pick to make for this game, Yep. The ticker's coming by next, and we have to wait for 40.5. Indianapolis Colts, Miami Dolphins. I'm going to say this as well. I like the Miami Dolphins in this game. The Colts just have too much continuity issues, not like interchanging lineups, but it's just 1 week they're good, 1 week they're questionable, 1 week, hey, look, the Colts are back, and then 1 week it's, they lost a bad game. You also too have the Miami Dolphins coming off of a bye week. I know Tua is probably going to be coming back earliest next week when they play Arizona, or 2 weeks when they go to Buffalo. But with this game right here, like even to what we saw from Miami against New England, I think they're going to be prepped. I think they're going to be ready to go. I like the Dolphins in this one.
That's sound logic to it. I still lean towards the Colts. I just don't trust Huntley, even though, I mean, the fact that we lost to this Dolphins, I know I keep making everything about the Patriots, but that we lost to this Dolphins team, still I'm like, oh my goodness. Because it's just totally different without Tua. Shout out to Big Red. Like I will say, like everybody, how can you not see that Tua is that important to this team? But anyways, meaning he is important. In case the words didn't come together very well there. Despite so that's the only, I just don't trust Huntley, even like I said, even though my own team lost to him. But so I would I would edge with the Colts, but it wouldn't surprise me. I think everything you said makes sense. Like coming off of a bye, it's like there's different things that come with that. Miami, like you said, continuity, like AR back in the lineup. Does he go down? Like you've seen games where like Flacco has to come into the game, like so. There's definitely questions there on the Colts as well. So, is Jonathan Taylor playing? I don't. That's another big point too. I don't know if he's playing. I think he is.
But even too, like last week on this podcast, I was on here with Jared, and then I was saying this stuff because I was hearing reports that Michael Pittman Jr. Oh, he's going on IR, or like he's doubtful to play this week.
Yeah.
And he played last week, and he had a decent game, and he's on my bench. And I'm like, what the fuck, like guys, you got to get your reporting right.
Oh, the injury reporting has been really bad this year in fantasy. It's been pretty bad.
It has been. Also, too, I kind of slept in my lineup for a second, but that's on neither here nor there. It's just one of those things where that's where I mean with the continuity with the Colts, where it's just like, what are we getting out of you? And this also screams to like, look, the Colts won last week against the Titans. They were an underdog and they won outright at +2.5. So that's why I think them at -3. This is the perfect spot for Miami to kind of like, slowly plant the seeds towards, hey, look at the Miami Dolphins. They're kind of cooking something here. And then Tua comes back and they're kind of like right back in that saddle in the AFC East picture.
Yeah, I mean, if they can, they won a game they shouldn't have won against the Pats. If they can win this game, I mean, that sets them up a lot better for when Tua comes back. That's less wins they need. So, we've talked about the Tua stuff enough, but as far as like, I just hope the man's making the right decision, but that's up to him. So,
yeah, that's up to him and the medical staff within the NFL and the Miami.
You gotta trust they make the right decision. And after that, it's pretty much there's no point in arguing it. So
yes, and then the next game. This game is very, very fun. I'm going to use this word. It's a very sexy matchup. You have the Minnesota Vikings hosting the Detroit Lions in a 1:00 slot, which honestly, if it were up to me, I would put this on Sunday Night Football. I would.
Yeah, why is this not on Sunday Night Football? Yeah, no one wants to Jets Steelers.
Everyone has to see Aaron Rodgers on Sunday. Aaron Rodgers needs all his primetime games. But no,
and
this
Steelers too.
Yeah,
it makes no sense why they're getting so many primetime games.
I'm going to say this with this game too, and also it sucks what happened to Aiden Hutchinson as well. Detroit. Right here, I can see this right now. I know Minnesota is coming off a bye week. I know Detroit looked fantastic against the Dallas Cowboys last week. I like Minnesota here because I think a lot of people are going to think, look what Detroit did to Dallas. They're going to do the same thing. And then you have to realize, look, they're playing a much better defense than the Minnesota Vikings. You're playing a rested Minnesota Vikings. You're playing a Minnesota Vikings team that already has a signature wins over San Francisco, Houston, the New York Jets, the Green Bay Packers. That's 4 very good caliber opponents right there that they have defeated this year. This to me just screams kind of like, everyone's kind of like, hey, look at Detroit. Detroit's it's a pick'em game. Ultimately, Minnesota's only -1.5, but it's like Detroit's the underdog in this one. Maybe make a little bit of money off of them. But I think this is a game where the Minnesota Vikings kind of, I don't even want to say control the pace. I think this is a game that the Minnesota Vikings just kind of show, hey, this is the true game for both teams where we can say after that, whoever wins this game, oh, the Minnesota Vikings are who we think they are. Like, they're very good. Or it's the kind of game where you look at it and go, oh, this might be the fall for them. But then with Detroit, it could be, hey, they really miss Aiden Hutchinson, and maybe they trade for Max Crosby. Excuse me. Or, yeah, I know the coughing's come to me. Cough pass.
Yeah.
But, it's the kind of game, too, where the Detroit Lions can kind of reestablish themselves in the NFL. But I'm going to go with the latter. I'm going to go with the undefeated team. I'm going to go with the Minnesota Vikings here.
Yeah, it's going to sound like I'm a broken record because I totally agree with you everything you said about Minnesota. I like them in this game, too. I think they're already legit. I think they've proven enough. Like, win against the Texans, win against the Packers. I know the Packers came back, but a pretty dominant win at first.
Pretty dominant win against the Texans, too.
Same thing. So, I think they're legit. I don't think they need to prove it. Oh, that's right. I keep forgetting they blew them out.
Yeah.
So it's like, and I mean, yeah, the Niners game was close, but they that's a big win that no one's talking about either. It's like that's 3 teams that are 100% going to make the playoff. I mean, I know there's like might be questions where the Niners with injuries and stuff, but yeah, I like the Vikings. I'll say this, man. First of all, I felt terrible for Aiden Hutchinson. One, the season he's having, not just as a player, but
He's having a deep boy caliber season. You can say
he's having an awesome, like he was gonna probably be at least in the running for defensive player of the year, and it's like to lose that kind of caliber play. I want to see what it does to the like. Obviously, I mean you can't replace him, and so I think that's gonna be to me, losing Aiden Hutchinson takes the Lions out of Super Bowl contention. To me, do I think they're still a good team? Yes, and this game is a good test to see how I view them like going forward. I think they need Aiden Hutchinson to even go to the Super Bowl, not even just win. I think they need him to go, and so that's unfortunate for them. But I think this game, I just don't. I think this game is going to kind of expose a little bit of that. I think they will because Dan Campbell is going to get into the play. I don't think they're going to make any kind of trade for anybody. I mean, maybe hopefully I'll be shocked if they do, but
Max Crosby.
He wants to be a Raider, man. Like that's all I've heard. I mean, granted, we've seen it before. So
Max Crosby.
I know, but he's got it tattooed on his body, so we'll see. That would shock me if he traded. I've heard it too. You're not the first one.
He's from Michigan too. That's the other thing.
I did not know that. I did not know that.
I got to double check where he's born, but he went to Eastern Michigan. I know that for a fact.
Yeah. I mean, I trust you on that part. You can look that up while I'm saying this, but yeah, I just think that's a big lot. Like, it just doesn't. You can try all you want to cover it up. Like, it's just like us when we lost Jawan Bentley. I mean, the running game has gone to complete shit since then. Run defense, sorry. So it's just like I'm just relating it to that because I mean, it's like I said.
He's the one from Lapeer, Michigan, but he went to high school in Texas, and then he went back to Michigan to go to school at Eastern Michigan, which I remember.
But he has Michigan ties is the whole point.
Yeah, he has ties to Michigan. That's the only reason why I'm saying it. Look, I know 49ers fans are saying, like, look, pair him with Nick Bosa, which if that happens, look, if you're trading the Raiders' best player to the Niners, that's bad. Trading the Raiders' best player to the Lions, it's a little different.
Yeah.
Look.
If he goes anywhere, I would think Lions. I think other than that, I think he stays.
Yeah. But. So with Aiden Hutchinson, his earliest return date would be if they made it to the Super Bowl, which I'll still say this right now. I need to see how the team looks before I dictate whether they're still a Super Bowl contender or not, because I still think they are. Because look, even though he got hurt last week, just the hurt they put on the Dallas Cowboys. If that was a closer game, I'd have my doubts. But the fact they went into Jerry's world on Jerry Jones's birthday and whooped they ass like that, I'm still trusting the Detroit Lions. But in this game here, I trust the Minnesota Vikings. I think it's just Dan Campbell. It's next man up. I think making a move like that just because you lost a player kind of reeks of desperation because as well, Aiden Hutchinson is going to be back, and he is also going to get paid this offseason. But I do think, though, he's done for the year. Even if they make the Super Bowl, just try to push yourself to get back for one game. Yeah, I know it's a Super Bowl, but get healthy for 2025 because, pal, you've got a future ahead of you. This next matchup, though, is a little disgusting. It's the Battle of Ohio. But why do I like the Cleveland Browns to cover 5.5 points against a weird Cincinnati Bengals team? Why do I like it? I don't know.
I'm not with you on that one.
I just look. The Cleveland Browns have been an atrocious dumpster fire. But Joe Burrow has never won a game in Cleveland. I don't know if you know that or not.
Oh,
the last time the Cleveland Browns lost a game in Cincinnati to the Cleveland Browns. I know what you meant. The last time that the Cincinnati Bengals defeated the Browns in Cleveland was 2017, the year everybody defeated the Cleveland Browns. Plus two, friend of the show, Andy McNamara, will be in attendance this Sunday. And here's the other thing, too. Nick Chubb is back in the lineup for the Cleveland Browns.
He is back. I did. Yep. That is. I did see that. That is big, but I don't trust it. I don't trust that Browns team.
Cleveland covers. Cincinnati wins. It's like it's one of those, like, Phil, I don't know how big of a Simpsons fan you are, like back in the day, like the 90s episodes.
Yeah, I'm not a big Simpsons guy.
Okay, well, there's a meme online of like Ralph Wiggum getting his heart, like and basically it's barking. You can see the moment of heartbreak. That's what I can see for Cleveland fans on Sunday, where it's like, we got this win, and then it's just like, no, you don't.
No,
you know, where it's like, Chase. We're gonna win this game. No, you're not. No, you're not. So I can see them, like, they lose, like, I don't know, 21 to like they lose like 20 to 17. They have a chance to tie a field goal, and then they miss the field goal. We've got two sexy matchups this week, and it's featuring another team in the NFC North. We have the Green Bay Packers playing CJ Stroud and the Houston Texans. If you want a true how good are both teams kind of game, Not sure. Are we sure they're good? How good are both opponents? How good are both teams in this game? This is the game for you. This is the game to see. This is a CBS prime spot with Jim Nantz and Romo in the booth. But for this game here, I honestly don't know where to go. I want to see what your thoughts are on this game first. See if you can.
Yeah.
Sway me.
So this is another spread that kind of throws. Like I understand Green Bay is good. Don't. This is gonna sound like Green Bay hate, but I don't understand why. Like I would think Texas, even though it is at home against Green Bay, that might give the little bit of an edge. I can't remember. There's always I know you guys always say there's like a spread number that is a home advantage. I can't remember what the number is, but so this might be the home advantage. But I think I like Houston in this game. I think they're just more talented. Like that defense really impressed. Maybe it just looked better than, even though it's good, it looked better against us. But I just want, I go by like my eye test and what I can see, and I'm gonna see more of you if you play New England. And so like the Houston Texans defense was really, really good. So I that's why I lean towards them offensively. They're and then also too. And shout out to Big Red. He also in one of our discords he mentioned this, but they're different. They're different when they have Joe Mixon. Like that team just looked different. So I somehow Joe Mixon doesn't play. That might make me a little more reserved. But Green Bay just hasn't looked to me as I know they beat the Cardinals pretty handily, but I'm not sure. I'm just not sure about Green Bay right now.
So Danny and I are both Cardinals truthers, if you will. I know that's a weird word to use, but we're both on the Cardinals right now to have good seasons. But I think they're starting to fall at the seams a little bit. Also, too, folks, 2 weeks when Call of Duty comes out, bet against Kyler Murray. You'll thank me later. Actually, it's next week. Shit, that's next week. Call of Duty Black Ops 6 comes out. So bet against Kyle. Actually, I'm going to double check this because I want to make sure Kyler Murray is playing because it might be his bye week. Because there's a thing, double XP thing, and the Arizona. No one's on their bye next week, and the Arizona Cardinals play. Drumroll, please. The Miami Dolphins. Oh my God! So you know what? Do not bet on Arizona. Bet on Miami next week.
Does he not when Call of Duty comes out? Is there something like he doesn't
when Call of Duty comes out, or it's a double XP week? He is not good.
He's not good. Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Google it after this.
Okay, yeah, I'll have to look that up. I didn't know that.
You know what? For this game too, you kind of swayed me. I like Green Bay. But I really liked what I saw from CJ Stroud last week against the Patriots. Tank Dell reminded us of how good he can be. And you're right. That team was different with Joe Mixon in the lineup. Will Anderson looked good. I really like this game to be fun and exciting. But Houston, I really like. I think a lot of people are thinking, you know what, Houston's due for a letdown spot. But you got to remember, too, both teams played subpar opponents last week. But Houston went on the road and did it. And I think that screams more. And now Houston's going into Lambeau Field. This is a true spot for because the Houston Texans still, I know they only beat Buffalo this year so far, but Buffalo was a little sliding and looked really bad. This is a chance for you to really put your foot on the map. Another bet I like for this game is the over of 47.5 points.
Oh, yeah. I like that. Yeah.
Horns up, baby. Go Texans. Atlanta versus Seattle. I'm going to keep the short and sweet as well. I think Seattle's kind of falling by the seams. I like the Atlanta Falcons here.
Yeah, I'm same thing. I don't think Seattle's what they were earlier in the season.
If you look at who they defeated, they beat Bo Nix in his first game. They beat Jacoby Brissett, and they beat not even Tyler Huntley. They beat Skylar Thompson. So there's no one there that they beat where it's like, wow. I think Atlanta is also starting to put the puzzle pieces together as well, get everything figured out, look good as well. This is another game, too. If you're feeling a little risky, the over is 51.5. So if you want to bet it and have some fun, you can go and do that, too. The New York Giants versus the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm going to come out and say this right now. I love Philadelphia in this spot. I love Saquon. I know he had those comments about, oh, I don't think I'm going to get booed. No, they're going to boo you mercifully. I can't even say the word.
Yeah.
He is going to get what's a very good heat example. He's going to get John Cena at ECW one night stand level heat from that crowd Sunday. Yep. He's going to get, he can throw his jersey in the crowd. They're going to throw back and chant F you Saquon at you and hope to God that you just have the worst day ever. But I like the Eagles too. Look, I don't know what the hell's going on with them right now. They're a weird team, but them at -3 in the spot, I feel like a lot of people are thinking the Giants can make a game of this. But look, I don't trust it with the Giants right now. I just don't. It's plain and simple. I like Philadelphia, and I like Philadelphia at -3.
Sorry, something was going on with my computer.
good.
Yeah, I think the Eagles. I think the Eagles, yeah, for sure win this game as well. Barkley's looked good. The I don't know what's going on with Nick Sirianni. So if they were to lose, he might get fired. I don't
Yeah. He
like.
also though did something this past week that I don't like. So like me covering the CFL and even the NFL, I see sometimes when coaches bring their kids up to the podium, but when you're doing it and kind of using it as a shield to defend from
Yeah,
getting pressed
yeah,
by the reporters,
I agree.
that doesn't show character. That just shows that you're trying to hide from everything.
Yep,
I
I
didn't. I
agree.
just didn't
I
like
didn't
that.
like that either, and I actually heard about that on the radio when it happened. But so yeah, so I don't think that now. I believe Neighbors will be back. Thank God for my fantasy team. He'll I think he'll do well. But other than that, yeah, I got the Eagles.
And then the next game we have Washington versus Carolina. I'm going to say this right now. I knew what was going to happen in Washington last week. What happened? Baltimore is just an inferior opponent. They had to kind of have that fall from grace game. But this is the perfect bounce back game. This is the game where, look, I know I said Buffalo's not going to cover against Tennessee. This is the game where I think the Commanders win by 10 plus points and kind of show, hey, we got fed our lunch against the Baltimore Ravens, but we're going to have a perfect rebound game against the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is definitely one of those, not a statement's not the right word, but yeah, like a definitely like, hey, we're a good team, like we're gonna beat bad teams. So, I love Jaden Daniels, man. That dude. I've said before the draft too that I want, like, if I had a choice, like I would pick Jaden Daniels over Drake May, but you didn't have that choice, so they made the choice for you. So that just shows you. I'm just showing the the listeners, that that's how much I like Jaden Daniels. So I think he's talented, and he's like, I'm not surprised by what I'm seeing. And that team's like, he's set up like it's one of those things. They set him up for success. There was already pieces in play, run game. Now the defense needs work, so we'll see if that long term what that says about Washington. But I think Washington can win this division. Like I really do. I think you have the Philly issues. If Philly can work their issues out, then I don't think Washington can win the division. But until I see them work some of their issues out, like I'm gonna keep saying that. Dallas is an absolute joke. That's they're just preparing themselves for Bill Belichick. But I've made that. I will say that till that's the call. Bill Belichick's going to be a Dallas Cowboy next year, but he might have too many options compared to if the way certain things go. Philly now apparently Brady wants them in Oakland or not Oakland. Sorry, Las Vegas. I don't think he'd choose Vegas over the Cowboys or the thing. And then the Jets are an option if somehow they were bad, but are bad enough to change. Or well, they already fired their head coach, so yeah, there you go.
So he hates the New York Jets. That won't ever happen.
He doesn't. And I'd like to think that, but but Kraft has given him some reasons to be petty, and
No.
I could. You don't think at all?
No.
I think there's a percentage. I would
No.
normally agree with you, and I think Monday Night Football he said the same thing, but I'd give percentages that there's still a possibility because Kraft will do whatever he can. But like I said, there's better options out there. He's like 0%. I hope you're right because I don't want him to be like I don't want that to happen. But I have to be logical, and I think there is a small percentage that he would. We'll see. That's off-season talk, but I think like what we were talking, the lost train of thought. Oh, Washington, Carolina. Yeah. But I like Washington, and Carolina. Good Lord, they're doing the whole hot minute. Bryce Young's probably out of there at this point.
Yeah.
So
yeah, with Belichick, it's just wait till the offseason. He's gonna have his suitors. I just don't think any amount of money would make him go back to the New York Jets just because he would have to bite a lot of his words that he said before. I think it's the other team in New York that he could probably go to over the
Giants is an option as well.
The Giants are a more viable option than the Jets, but we'll talk about that in January. Rams versus Raiders, like we were saying before, Tom Brady, new owner in Las Vegas. Obviously, there's a lot of restrictions on him. But I'm going to say this right now. The Rams are -7, but the Rams haven't shown anything of promise. I like the Rams to win this game, but I like the Las Vegas Raiders to cover the number.
Cooper Kupp might play, so it's very likely he could play. So, I like the Rams as well. The Raiders are...
Their defense is atrocious, the Rams.
Yeah, I like Brock Bowers. I'll give a positive over the for Miguel's Raiders. I don't want to give nothing but negatives. I like him, but yeah, and Max Crosby obviously, but and my boy Myers, but I think this is a Rams win.
The only thing I'll say with Belichick with the Raiders, it's just the fact that he can kind of go there and do whatever he wants. I feel like if he goes to like if he goes to Dallas or anywhere else, he's going to kind of have to be butting heads with ownership. Meanwhile, with Vegas, it's just kind of like, hey, you do you, Bill. We have
well, I was like, one comment on that I would say is though that I think if Bill Belichick is going to Dallas, that's a desperation call. Like they're literally not desperate because of who they're signed, but it's one of those things. Jerry Jones is gonna have to give up power. Like he's like, all right, nothing else. This isn't working. I signed all my guys outside of Michael Parsons, but I signed all my guys. Like I gotta make this work. And so that's what that would be about. The Raiders, I just think, I mean, Belichick wants to break the record. I mean, that's clearly if he's wanting to get back into coaching, that's what he needs to break. And I think the more like, I'm just in this scenario, the Cowboys' position is open, the Eagles' position is most likely open, and then
you drop that,
and then I said the same thing, and then the Raiders' option being open, I would think he would go with the more likely chance. Now, if he wants it was just the more power thing, I agree with you on the Raiders on that. Sorry, I just had to put that in there.
It's all good. But we also have a third matchup that you can call sexy this weekend because we have a Super Bowl rematch between the Kansas City Chiefs and the San Francisco 49ers. This one's taking place in the Bay. I know the last time that the Kansas City Chiefs lost to San Fran was 2014. I do think this is the one that the Niners get. The Chiefs, look, they're 5-0, but they are not a sexy 5-0. Some of the teams they've beaten haven't been, not even who they've beaten because they beat Baltimore, but ever since then, you beat a Cincinnati team that's now 2-4. They beat the Chargers, who are very injured and banged up. They beat the Falcons before the Falcons kind of got it all together. They also beat the Saints. Now they have to go out to the Bay. They're coming off the bye. Even this week, too, you saw Travis Kelce hanging out in New York. You saw him, going into the Yankees games and stuff like that, to where I'm just here to say I think this is their game that they lose, and this is the one that the Niners finally get. The only way I can see that happen is if the Chiefs just completely shut down anything that Brock Purdy will do. And I say this as well, but I still feel like Brock Purdy's one of the more disrespected quarterbacks in the NFL,
Yeah, I think he's proven himself at this point, right? Like
he has, but everyone just finds a new excuse to just keep saying, "Oh, but it was this," or "Oh, but it was that."
Yeah,
there's always a what if with him. There's always a but with him.
And the thing I'll say about him, okay, him and
Ricky Pearsall may play in this game as well. First game is.
Oh, really? Career. I didn't hear that. Okay,
he is practicing. I don't know if he's going to play, but he has started practicing.
I did not see that.
Yeah,
that would be interesting for sure to add to it. But one thing I will say is that okay, look. You always look at teams when they don't win like flashy, but like are they like losing that game that they should have never lost, or they lose it like because of their like the Raiders. What the hell is my saying Raiders for? The the Niners when they played the Patriots, for instance, right? They didn't play like their best game, but like I feel like they won. There's a reason why I'm saying that, but there was moments in that game where if the Patriots were competent, the game would have been a lot closer. They just weren't. So I think at that point, but despite that, the Niners still got the job done. Is what I'm getting at. So I think that's good. Like that shows that okay, they're doing what they needed, like what they're able to do. I feel like I'm not explaining that the way, but oh well. What I'm saying is like there's chances that they have like to look bad, and I think even though they've looked bad, they look good. Same thing you can say about Kansas City. The one thing I'll say on that side of Kansas City though is the way they're winning this year is defense and run game, right? Because they don't have receivers as much. Like Mahomes isn't playing bad, but he's not having to do as much.
2003 Patriots. You can say it the way you want to say it.
That's what you got to do. If you want to be a dynasty, you got to win in different ways. Because otherwise, it's going to be, you're only going to, you're going to win your few, and then you're going to be fizzled out, right? So I think that shows a true sign of a dynasty, or in a sense of a good team that can win in different ways. You got to be able to adapt. So props to them for that. But I just don't think they're going to be able to run like they need to again. Even though I think they're also getting Clyde Edwards-Helaire back to complement with Kareem Hunt. So we'll see. I still think the Chiefs edge this out somehow because I don't know. I could see it going either way, so I'm kind of going back and forth. If you ask me tomorrow, I'd probably say the Niners. So, but today I'm gonna lean toward the Chiefs because I feel like this is a game they're gonna win. But as I'm saying it, I don't even know if I believe it, but we'll see. Hopefully it's a good game. I think it will be a good game. I just the Niners are if they can stay healthy, are very talented. So it's even though the record shows like I think that when it matters, they'll be in the hunt.
So they're definitely going to – I think they win the division. I just when you look at the rest of their division, you have Arizona's and
Minnesota,
Rams
man.
and Seattle's and I know they've lost some
Oh
already.
no, Minnesota's not in their division. I'm an idiot.
I know, but they're healthy now. They're gonna get Christian McCaffrey back eventually.
They win their division.
They're one of those teams too where it's like you can't really put a label on them right now. I'm gonna wait about another month before we put a true label on what the San Francisco 49ers are. I just think this is the game they get. This is that game that's their confidence booster going forward. But it's also true for Kansas City. Remember, New England had this for years. They would have a game where hey, things don't go your way. You have a bad game. You get called out for it. Next week you rebound, and it's just the fuel you provide to go forward. The Chiefs play the Rams. The Chiefs play the Raiders next week, and so that's the kind of game where they go in. The Rams get a bit. Getting all my teams mixed up. Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to predict into the future. The Chiefs lose to the 49ers. The Rams play a close game, win or lose, against the Rams. The Raiders do. Next week, the Chiefs play the Raiders, and the Chiefs dog walk the Raiders. That's the script that the NFL is searing into my brain right now. It's searing. The script writers have gotten to us, Phil. And that's how it goes. But here's the thing, too. Big Rat did make this point. If you are a Niners fan, though, you'd rather lose this game than next week, because next week you've got a very pissed off Dallas Cowboy team coming to town on Sunday Night Football. That's a game you can't lose because they've already lost enough games in conference. Which, speaking of Sunday Night Football, Steelers versus the Jets. I'm going to come out and say it right now. I'm going to pound the table and say it. Jets. Jets. Get this win because they need the win more than the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I'm not going to say it like that, but I think the Jets win because of one mistake that the Steelers
I popped for the
make.
Jets wearing Patriots gear. What more does the viewing audience want from me?
Yeah, you got it. You ain't getting it from this guy. I'm not screaming that line. But so props for you, I guess. But oh look, it's Drew Brees. Oh yeah, to honor him tonight. I forgot. Sorry, yes. I got distracted. But I think the Jets win because the Steelers are idiots and they're starting Russell Wilson. Look, it'd be different if they paid the man, okay? Like, they didn't pay the man. He's a one-year guy. He's on a loaner just like Justin Fields. Justin Fields hasn't done, like, he hasn't broken the atmosphere, right? He hasn't, knocked your socks off, but he hasn't played bad enough to be benched yet. And it's like, I understand you want to see, like, this is me basically thinking that they think Russell Wilson's better than he is. And I'm sorry, I want Russell Wilson to go out there and stink it up. First of all, because I don't really care for the guy anymore, even though I used to. But just a lot came out about him. You can just see he's not the guy you thought he was. But yeah. So I think now I will say on a positive side for the Steelers, I have a lot of Steelers friends that are fans of them. If that came out at all, what is in the air tonight? We cannot talk tonight.
I talk to the Jets, and you have friends that are Steelers fans.
Yeah. So, what I was saying is that these. TJ Watt is unbelievable. He pretty much is a game changer on the defense, and he's now with Hutch out. I think he's like a front runner for Defensive Player of the Year, and maybe even MVP. Maybe I don't think he wins because I don't know. You're gonna have to be unreal to beat a quarterback out. But
Taylor was the last one to do, and that was over 30 years ago.
Who was?
Lawrence Taylor.
Lawrence Taylor was the last.
1987,
really?
I think. You can fact check me on that, but I think it was 1987.
Yeah, I'll have to look that up. I thought somebody in our era won the defensive won it once.
Nope. Stephon Gilmore won deep boy, but Lawrence Taylor was the last defensive player to win MVP. Also, the Saints are the most unserious team in all of football.
Yeah,
they get walked in this game. This is a potential Dennis Allen firing spot. You're 2-5 in a year you're supposed to be decently competitive.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with the Saints have dropped. Well, obviously they lost their quarterback. I get that, but
yes, you can look that one up for me though too.
Yeah,
so
I'm
I think both
right
the Jets to win, but I popped them. Phil's friends are Steelers fans.
Yeah, you're right. You're correct. Lawrence Taylor. Yep, just threw it out there because I just saw it.
Yes, and then Monday night.
Seems like somebody won it, but yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna say so. Monday night we have two games, but one matchup's a lot better than the other. Raiders Buccaneers. But also, folks, programming note for Monday Night Football this week.
Try again.
You have 8:15 start and you have a 9:00 p.m. start.
Just you said Raiders, by the way. That's why I said that.
Oh, God,
you love it. It's okay. We all keep saying Raiders for some reason.
I was gonna call this podcast originally like I popped for the Jets, but I'm not giving Danny that satisfaction.
No,
I will if they win, but he's also got his Yankees right now.
So Raiders.
No, you gotta do it. You gotta really get down there. Okay, so the Ravens
There you go.
play the Buccaneers 8:15, and then the Cardinals play the Chargers at 9 p.m. So if you're crazy enough to stay up for that one, I only say that because I actually work a full-time job. But this game right here, this is another game where it's a true measuring stick game for both opponents. Both opponents looked fantastic last week against the Commanders and against the Saints. This is going to be kind of stupid, but I don't know if did you ever see a video of what happened in Baltimore this past week?
Oh, with the fan?
Yeah, the guy going around fighting people, and he's like basically flexing, going, "I don't lose," and I'm just like.
And your tweet is actually what broke the news when he got. I saw that he got arrested.
It wasn't an arrest; it was just a warrant for his arrest. But that's what it was.
Okay.
He plays stupid games and he won a stupid prize. Congratulations, dude!
I loved
it. Look, I understand being fans of a team, but like, I would not go around knocking someone out or trying to fight someone just because like you're wearing a different colored jersey than me. Look, I know rivalries are one thing, but that just kind of goes beyond the point. Before that, though, I'm going to go karma switch. I'm going to go Tampa Bay Buccaneers here because this is a game where the Buccaneers can truly put their stamp on things. You know, it's a little risky. It is risky. I know the Buccaneers can be an up and down team, but they did score 51 last week against the Saints team, and now they host the Ravens as plus 3.5. I like them to win, but I do really like the cover. So I'll say this. For them to cover is like a 7.5 out of 10. For them to win, I'm going to say a 6.
I got you. I do think the Bucks cover. I kind of agree with you on that. But I like the Ravens to win this game.
Like a field goal.
Yeah, like a field goal. I would say on an outlier to that this does kind of seem like one of those games where the Bucks get kind of not dog walked, but beat better than you kind of expected, like by more than like 14 or more. It's like the Bucks have they've won. I mean, they let Denver dog walk them. So I mean, it's like it could this is one of those. If it's close, okay, the Bucks are still like they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. But like this could be one of those. Okay, if you see the Bucks like get smashed, it's like, oh, okay, are they good against these elite teams or not? Because that would be the question. If they keep it close, they're good enough, I think. But that'll be the test in this one. But I have the Ravens, and hopefully Isaiah Likely does really well.
And then we wrap Monday night up with the Chargers and the Cardinals. I'm going to keep it short and sweet here. I like the Chargers. Look, the Cardinals, I think, have a bright future. But for right now, this is just again, like the Jets, if you're the Chargers, these are the games you have to win. You can't afford to lose games like this because when you have to play better opponents later in the season and those games are must wins, that's where teams truly kind of, step on toes and stuff like that. So for a game like this is the kind of game that the Chargers should win handedly.
Yeah.
Especially even though they're on the road in the desert, by the way. This game is in Arizona.
Yeah. And I was actually leaning toward, and I think I still will lean towards Arizona only because I just feel like Arizona wins random game. Like it just seems like that's always been their like kind of stick. I will say after I didn't realize this, but they've only won against division opponents this year. That just noticed that they've only beat the Rams,
beat LA and Arizona, LA and San Francisco.
Yeah. So that makes me kind of a little less likely to pick them, but I'm still going to lean towards them. But I agree with your sentiment of like this is a game the Chargers don't need to be losing. Like if this is a playoff team, Chargers, they need to win this game. I think they lose this game, then I don't know if the Chargers make the playoffs at that point.
It's one of those games,
or at least at this point in the season, this is what it looks like at least.
It's the kind of game where I'm going to look at their schedule, but like the Chargers right now, they're sitting at 3-2. They're sitting at 3-2. They play after this. They play the Saints, the Browns, the Titans, the Bengals, and then they play the Ravens on Monday Night Football. So they easily should go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Their next 5 games, their worst case scenario should be 3-2. So which would mean they're at 6-4 going into that Charger game, because then in December they play the Falcons, the Chiefs, the Buccaneers, the Broncos, the Patriots, and the Raiders. So that December right there, that's that 3-game stretch: Falcons, Chiefs, Bucks, which one of those games is a 425 spot, and one of those games is a Sunday Night Football spot, and then you also have the Monday Night Football game in there. Also, never mind, it's a 425 spot because it's the Buccaneers game is in LA,
the game's
in LA. But no, So say for example, that Chargers Chiefs game then in December, instead of that being a must-win game for the Chargers, it's a game where if they lose, you can stomach losing it. Instead of that game being, the dagger that truly kills your playoff momentum. When Steve Kornacki's, doing his numbers thing where it's like, oh, hey, if they win this game, they go from 43% to make the playoffs to go to 72%. But then if they lose this game, they go from 43% to like 29%. So to avoid doing that, this is the kind of game that the LA Chargers have to win convincingly.
Yeah, and I think if they win this game, like there's a chance they could win 4 straight.
That's why I say 3-2 worst case scenario with the teams they have coming.
Well, right,
up
I know but what I'm saying is like I think that this is a chance that they could really, that would put them at 7-2. Like that's a pretty good lead. Like that kind of sets yourself up as like obviously 7-2 is probably better than they actually are, but still like it still puts you in that position where okay, well we're a legit playoff contender. Whereas if you drop this one, then how are we confident that you can beat the Saints, Browns, or Titans? So, I think this is a definitely a win, a game they need to win.
Yeah,
and I think I'm going to change my pick. I think the Chargers win.
Yeah, it's the kind of game that if basically it's one of those ones where you have to look at it and go, if you are a serious football team, this is the game you win and you win convincingly.
It's like when they were still kind of expected to win last year or expected to be good. Not last year. I think it was the year before. And then they lost to the Patriots. Was that last year or the year before?
That was 3 years ago.
That's been that long? Oh, my God. My time. Never mind. Forget.
Last year was the terrible 6-0 game.
Oh, that's right. That's right. They still look bad. They've looked bad against the Patriots twice now. I guess that's why.
That game was in a shitty December pouring rain game in Foxborough. There's so much only so much you can do with stuff like that. But no, this is the kind of game. Look, the weather's going to be fine. You're in the desert. You're looking good.
You got to go to Kansas City. You ain't got no excuses.
Yeah, exactly. They came into your building and won. You got to go into their building and win. If you go into their building and lose and get swept, losses like this will only make those ones hurt more. Wins like this will make those losses not as bad. It still sucks because it's a rival, but you get my logic.
Yep. Nope. I agree.
You know what, folks? I said it before. What's up, YouTube world? Because this has been episode number 320 of YWC Football Talk.
320. Good.
320.
Good milestone.
320. We hit 300 about 3 months ago. We're here now. There's more episodes coming down the line. Remember, next week's guests we're still being worked on, depending on what the Yankees do. And then on October 28th, we make the return back. Danny Dimes in primetime with Big Rat and I. Anyway, guys, for Nightmare 10, say the line. What's the line? Nightmare 10.
Once again,
I'm Griff. Enjoy week 7 of the NFL season. Good
go
day.
Pats.
I was about to say good day, mate. We're in Australia. We're not in Australia.
Shots up and go Pats.
Go Pats.